Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Chai with Gary. It's an interesting episode. We have Rishi with us. Rishi has been our staunch follower and has been religiously watching our videos and has been giving his input. So we thought we'll bring him on the show. Welcome, Rishi.
Glad to be here, guys. You guys are doing quite a good job. I feel that
Thank you.
in the whole of football YouTube community, the whole idea is that a lot more people get involved and get to say their opinion.
Yeah.
And it's important that we have some Indian representation in the Man United fan space because there are
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other Indian fan channel. There might be out there, people like you guys starting out. So
Mhm.
I feel you guys are doing a good job and keep it up.
Oh, thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
And Gary, late on a Saturday, we have
Dude,
unfortunately, we're not partying with Paris Hilton this weekend, but
no Paris Hilton.
we can.
Paris Hilton sisters here, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Look, Chai,
We'll-
so much has happened this past week. So much has happened. Where to even begin? That Roma game. Oh my word, that Roma
Yeah.
game.
Look,
Dude,
you don't have to talk about it in past tense like it was a few days ago. It's just fresh in our
it
memory.
feels like it, but I just had to remind myself how great we played in the second half.
Yeah.
Like I tell you all the time, we go into these games, we don't know which United's going to turn up.
Yeah.
Whether it's a United that beat Man City the other day, or whether it's a United that gets trashed by Sheffield United at home,
Yeah.
we just don't know. And so I'm always nervous when we go into these big games
Yeah.
where we've got to win, we've got to get a result.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say this time United didn't disappoint.
Yep. And staying with that topic, right? It was a great win, no doubt. I think the tie is almost. I mean, the fat lady is almost sung, but we'll see what happens in Roma in a week's time. But Rishi, there's I want to bring you in to kind of weigh in on a couple of thoughts that Gary and me have been sharing very vocally, is about the United midfield. And as most games, I say, where Solskjaer is a little doubtful of the result, we always seem to have started Fred and McTominay. So when we saw that on the team sheet before the game, we were kind of worried as to how would be the mobility of the ball itself, right? And we kind of felt it's going to be backwards passing, sideways passing, etc., etc. How did you see it? What was your reaction when you saw the team sheet? And what did you think the result was going to be? Initial reactions?
Well, I wasn't surprised at all because Ollie's indicated that this is his go-to team. This is his strongest team. Pogba on the left wing, Bruno in the middle, Rashford or Greenwood on the right. I still believe Greenwood is better than Rashford off the right because he can shoot off both feet and he can also cross the ball quite well compared to Rashford. I think Greenwood is a better crosser of the ball than Rashford. And Cavani up top, we've seen that he's been preferring Cavani and with good reason. He's a world-class player and he showed what he can deliver. So I was not surprised when I saw the lineup. And even the least surprising aspect was McFred in midfield. I think we've gotten used to it over the season.
McFred in the middle just causes me that it causes my stomach to churn a little bit, right? And I mean, no offense to them, I think they do their job well, but I think there are two people doing the same job, which kind of feels overloaded.
If their job is to put on your boots, put on your pants, and go to the field and run a bit, kick some players in the shin, then fair enough, they're doing their job, right? But let's face it, are they really doing their job?
Look, I don't know about Fred, dude. I mean, Rishi, please weigh in as well. Fred seems to be an enigma to me, right? And at least Scott McTominay, you know what the kind of player he is, and given a bit more freedom, I think McTominay has a little more to offer than Fred. I mean, I'm putting it out there, and you guys fight it out.
Oh man!
And you guys fight it out. This is where I drop the mic and run away, right?
Yeah, this is where someone should call an ambulance for you.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you why I feel so strongly. Yes, what you said is not wrong. It's you're 100% right that McTominay, if he's given a little bit more freedom, he will give you a little more visible output, which is goals and
Yes.
assists. Now, even in the previous season, McTominay did not have many assists, but he did have goals. For a guy who people claim cannot play at all, he got 5 league goals last season and he's got 4 this season. Okay,
And
and
two of which was against Leeds. Let's keep that in mind,
which
right?
was against Leeds, but you got to remember what kind of a position he got into. The first goal
Yeah.
was just at the edge of the box. The second one was inside the
Yeah.
box, close to the 6 yard box. So McTominay does have something. Uh, But I believe that what Fred offers us is a little bit more than what McTominay will, because through a game, how many shots do you think actually McTominay will get to take? But what Fred does is prevalent throughout the game. You know, he goes and chases after the ball. He tries to win over possession. Fred averages, I think, 4.7 or 4.8 defensive actions per 90, which is roughly around 2.7 tackles and 2.2 interceptions, which is not too bad. You know, the
That's pretty
top
good.
players get an aggregate of 5.0 plus. The players
Yeah.
like Casemiro and Didi, they are closer to 6 a game. You know,
Hmm.
so Fred does offer you something. Now, why I'm even more contesting your opinion, Chai, is because McTominay is literally half a player.
Yeah.
Okay, he on an average has 30 passes a game. An average midfielder will have anywhere between 50 to 60 passes a game. He's
Yeah.
giving you half the passes, so his involvement is lesser. An average defensive midfielder will give you an aggregate of 3.5 to 4 tackles and interceptions. A decent, okayish guy. McTominay has 2. He has 1.1 tackles a game and 1 interception a game. So
Right.
he's not giving you passes. He's not giving you tackles. He's not actually covering up for the so-called defensive liability that is Maguire and Lindelof, or even
Yeah.
them if you consider them to be a defensive liability. He's giving you goals, but look
Yep.
at his conversion rate. He's converting 40% of his on-target shots,
Right.
which is a higher ratio than Aguero, and that is not sustainable. We saw that with Martial last season. He
Last
was
season, yeah.
40% of his shots on target, and this season he just disappeared. So you return to the mean once in a while.
Yeah.
So actually, Ollie's not putting out an 11; he's putting out a 10.5 because McTominay in his current role is half the player that anyone else could be.
Sure. Look, by no means I'm saying, okay, let me caveat what I said before. There were a couple of things that I needed to have said. Is I don't believe both of them make the lineup if we strengthen in the right positions. I don't think they should be started. They should be at best squad players, right? Now, what I believe is with the squad that we currently have with no replacements, I think there is a bit of, okay, let's say we had a midfield and Scott McTominay was a player in and out, right? In terms of a squad rotation kind of guy. I think he's better served off bringing him at about 70th minute, like how Nicky Butt kind of filled that role, right? I see him as a Nicky Butt kind of mold of a player, not saying exact, but mold of a player. Nicky Butt didn't play all games. He just came in when was required. Gary, what do you think?
Dude, I've gone on to lengths to talk about Fred and McTominay.
Yeah.
To me, they complement each other in a sense, because McTominay is more physical in a lot of sense. He's got the height, he's got the build to kind of take on players, to challenge players, and so that way he's quite physical.
Yeah.
Fred is a bit like a chihuahua, like I've said before. He nips and nips and nips, and he's got a lot of energy, and
The
so
poor man's Busquets.
poor man's Busquets, yeah. And so, like, together, if you combine both their abilities into one, then that would be a perfect defensive midfielder or holding midfielder, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
But the problem is you're sacrificing 2 positions for one player in a sense to get one complete player. And so for me, because of Fred and McTominay and the positioning that they play in the pitch, half the time or most of the times you'll see them go so far forward. And when Pogba plays in the middle, it sacrifices his offensive responsibilities a bit. And because that, he's been forced to play a withdrawn position. And so when I look at Fred and McTominay, okay, good. Yes, they've got a lot of energy. They're physical. They give you a lot of that solidity in midfield. But by doing that, you're sacrificing Pogba's true capabilities in the just outside the box, where he's really really lethal in terms of his one touch play, his passing. Just that goal that he fed to Bruno, that first goal that we considered, it all
Yeah.
started from him.
Yeah.
That dribble and then the pass to Cavani, that
Mhm.
was just all him.
Yeah.
And when Fred and McTominay is there, most of the time you'd see Pogba, in a deeper role because they are so adventurous up forward, up
Yeah.
front, that there's no one covering in midfield. And
Yeah.
so when Pogba goes on the left, then he's got a bit more freedom and he doesn't have to, sort of cover Fred and McTominay in that
Yeah.
sense. So for me, look, yes, it's okay. We don't have an option right now, and always been, yeah, he's had to play Fred and McTominay because there's no one else there who can do what they can do.
Yeah.
But is that the solution for the long term? I don't think so, because we can get a lot more out of this team if we
Yeah.
get that one defensive midfielder who's going to do something that both of them can do combined.
Yeah,
And so,
that's possibly what we saw in the first half of the game as well. Right? So where we kind of were toothless. Okay, you know what? The first goal was exquisite between Cavani and Bruno and Pogba involved as well. But there was a steep drop off. And look, the first half was how United typically plays and boasts the shit out of you sometimes. But what did you guys feel? Was it a penalty? Was Pogba slide? I think it was too harsh, but I want to get your opinion. Just give me your gentle thoughts of the first half. Rishi, what did you think?
I thought both the penalties were really soft. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, both penalties were non-penalties. The Pogba one, see, it's what people call the modern penalty, so I'm not surprised it was given. I was more surprised by the one on Cavani because Cavani had not played the ball; it had almost gone out of play, and
Yeah.
Smalling then put a tackle in.
Yeah.
So, by that logic, wouldn't that also make Smalling the last man because they were the furthest forward? And by that logic, it should also have been a sending off.
Red card, yeah.
Sending off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
The law has been half interpreted. I thought he was let's call a spade, or that referee was shit.
Yeah.
He was a terrible referee. Not
Yeah,
just
he
that, but balls all over. There were so many. It was inconsistent. I felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of fouls that should have gone away did not, and literally the next minute he, I thought the other team, Roma, should have had a foul, but he didn't give that either. That was a clearer foul. So referees should have degrees of acceptance as to what is acceptable, what's the baseline for him. This guy never set the baseline. And he was ridiculous to out.
Absolutely. And Gary, your thoughts on the first half?
First half was good when we got the first goal, and then we considered that silly penalty, which is debatable if it's even a penalty. But the modern law says yes, your hands is in an unnatural position, which means that you've got to chop off your hands or you've got to put your hands in your pocket next time when you're going for a tackle. But look, the first half was quite surprising because they had two shots on target.
Yeah,
and they converted both of that, right? So it's just one of those situations where I think we still, at the balance of the 45 minutes, I still think we played better. But the thing is, we didn't take our chances. We didn't create much. And then they had two chances, and then they converted both, and they put us in a difficult position, I think.
Let's talk about that Zeko goal as well, right? And I think Luke Shaw was playing Zeko onside. What do you make of it? And people call it a mistake, but Mkhitaryan's pass was good. I mean, it was defense splitting, which is what I've seen him play in Arsenal. I've seen him play at United. Now I'm seeing him play here. There are certain qualities that I think he did right, and it was a good pass. Credit to him. But what do you think the way we conceded that goal? Thoughts?
I'll go first. Sorry, Rishi. Look, when I look at how we concede goals now, I look at the whole picture. Okay, I don't just look at the defenders. I look at where they position, how they position, why they position there, and then I kind of work out where we've gone wrong. Okay, obviously our positioning was poor. There was no communication in the back line. First of all, the offside line was miles off. We should have, potentially looked at playing the offside line, but we didn't. And I just think, man, I go back to this keeper situation now, where I've gone and said that Henderson, he might not be a better shot stopper, but what he does really well is that he commands his area really well. He shouts out to his defender. He's a lot more vocal. He tells his defenders where they need to be. He calls out if there's a player, they're playing out players on side. He's always doing the communication with his defenders. And I think he's got a very, very good, what do you call it? A good understanding with Harry Maguire. Okay. So I think both of them play really well together in the back. And when De Gea comes in there, you can see by De Gea's body language, okay? He's a very, very good keeper. But end of the day, when I look at De Gea, he is a keeper of the past generation. Okay? Back in the day, 10 years ago, you can rely on a shot stopping ability. All you have to do is stand on your goal. You don't have to come out to the line. And it's happy days. But moving forward with, the likes of Ederson, you look at the likes of Alisson even at Liverpool, the likes of the other keepers out there in Europe, the way that they want to play the ball is they want to play from the back. When you have a keeper like De Gea, unfortunately, it's not going to work. He just doesn't have the footwork. He doesn't have the communication skills to shout out his defenders. And I just think, look, as sad as it is, I think it's time for De Gea to go.
Big cause there. But Rishi, what did you make? What do you make of it?
Well, let me just start off by saying that I will have completely biased views here because I absolutely love De Gea. And that's the only thing I'll say about it, because I don't know much about goalkeepers to understand what Dean Henderson brings differently. Because for me, when I think of Dean Henderson, I still have that massive, huge error he made against Sheffield, playing the ball out from the back. That was like a confederacy of dunces at work over there. Maguire passing it to Bai was playing that game, right? Or was it Lindelof? And then passing it back to Henderson, he makes a mess of it. So I don't know what communication exactly you're talking about over there, Gary, because that was a complete miscommunication. If I look at direct errors leading to goals this season, I've seen both.
If I pull out a reel of De Gea's blunders,
no, absolutely.
That's over 7 years, right?
Over 7 years. I'm not saying he's not deteriorated as a keeper.
Yeah.
His greatest asset was his shot stopping, and he's letting in goals at his near post, and that's an issue. But honestly, can any of you, hand on heart, tell me that Henderson has shown you enough this season to make him look like, in whatever limited 20 or so games that he started, can you say that with the pressure of, remember the kind of pressure De Gea was under when he first came in? He was replacing Anderson. Remember 2011-12 season, people were merciless, and it took him 6 months to turn that around. Imagine a guy who is 20 years old, who moves to a different country, does not understand the language. He also had he had a hypermetropic correction surgery in his first 6 months.
True.
Right? So all of that baggage, being, and United at that time, Barcelona maybe, were the greatest club in the world. Stepping up to be number one. So that's a 20-year-old kid who's done that. Now, don't tell me that just because a man turned 30 and he has a kid that he turned soft. Come on. He's still the same player.
Look, all I'm going to say is, okay, I know Henderson's not been proven. I accept that because he's not played in front of a full capacity Old Trafford. Okay? He's not had that pressure of the fans getting on his back with the silly mistakes and all that. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that when you look, De Gea is on crazy amounts of money. Okay? Money that he should never have been. That's a different story altogether. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that they are both first-class keepers. Okay? When you go into a season with two first-class keepers, okay, fighting for number one spot, and the manager, I don't know what he's doing or whose idea it was in the first place to go in with this idea, but I just think it's going to cause a lot more disharmony between your keepers and the rest of the squad, because eventually one or two of those keepers are going to be dropped for key games, which can lead to discontent, unhappiness, issues down the line. So I think Solskjaer and the board have a big. They made a big boo boo. They.
I think Henderson should still have been on loan this season. That's my.
Oh, he should have been sold.
that's my
If you're set on De Gea being your keeper for the next 10 years, then there's no
That's
point
fine.
keeping Henderson.
Why not? I mean, the hair will come off the helm at some point. Maybe the
Dude,
way
but
that they're doing it and the
he's what, just
accelerated push
past
him out.
30 now. He's just
Yeah,
past 30 now.
goalkeepers
He's
keep
got another
post
10 years.
30.
He's
Yeah,
got another 10
exactly.
years. So
Agreed.
it's fine.
That's fine. I don't think he should have been back. The Henderson shouldn't have come back from loan. I think he should have been on
Yeah.
loan at least for the next couple of seasons or whatever it takes for him to mature.
Yeah.
Because the goal, it was ruled out. But what was it? I think it was in the
It
not
was
against Leeds.
the Burnley game.
Burnley game,
Yeah,
where
the
he came
Burnley
out for a
game.
ball
That's
that
right.
he had no business to be
Dude, that
anywhere there.
he.
Yeah, so
I
that's
told-
communication too,
Where
right?
was the
That's
Chai,
communication too, yeah.
Gary, tell me where was the communication between
Hey,
Henderson and
Solskjaer
Maguire?
was shouting at him to
Dude,
be the
bad
striker,
network, I
man.
think
You
whatever-
didn't hear or
Was
what?
was he communicating in Morse code or
Solskjaer
something?
was telling me you're the striker now. Go.
It's Vodafone signals, dude. You can never rely on them.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, moving on, guys. Yeah, you know what? The first half, when I was very uncomfortable when I saw how it ended. But very quickly, let's wrapping up thoughts on the game. The second half was fucking amazing, and I think something happened. I think people played with a lot more freedom. There was obviously 3 injuries to Roma, and people had to go off as well. There was a keeper change. Not sure he would have stopped the Cavani, Wan-Bissaka shot, I think, or I can't remember who shot the ball
Wan-Bissaka.
initially. Wan-Bissaka's shot for Cavani to score the second, his second, that is. But yeah, what did you make of it? I think it was a clinical performance. But Rishi, what did you think the second half? What changed, do you reckon?
One key snapshot for me was, I think it was after the second or third goal, where it was 12. It was 11 versus 10. Like 10 of us were in their opposition half. You know, Lindelof and Maguire were like 5 yards inside across the halfway line.
Yeah.
So that changed for me. You guys might remember Ollie's famous words: "Keep the tempo high, boys. Pass the ball.
Yeah.
Pass the ball."
I heard that. Yeah.
So that's what he wanted from the team, and they gave it. Okay, I mean, hand on my heart, I believe that's the extent of Ollie's coaching knowledge. Keep the tempo high and pass the ball and speak like a Scotsman. He's a fantastic man manager. Don't get me wrong. He's right up in there with like Jurgen Klopp and Ancelotti in terms of. And this is not hyperbole. Look at the way he handled the Pogba situation. You know, any other coach, Jose Van Gaal, would have sent him to train with the reserves.
Yeah.
He kept hold of him even after we lost that Leipzig game, and I can count at least 4 games where Pogba's been the difference clearly, as in he scored the winning goal. You know, there's Milan, there's Fulham, there's so many other games. There's a West Ham game we won 3-1. So he's been like a difference maker in a lot of games this season.
Yeah.
And Ollie is one of the best man managers. Tactically, I mean, I could quote statistics to prove how terrible we've been. We actually, you know, according to all metrics, we deserve to be 5th in the table this season.
Key stats being chances created versus
chances created within the penalty box, shots taken within the penalty box, shots taken from the 6-yard box.
Yeah.
You know, we have an average of 0.8 shots taken from within the 6-yard box, which is like 6th on the table or 7th or 8th on the table. Wolves have more per game than we do. City have something like 3 shots from within the 6-yard box. 2 shots within that. They're 2.5 times better than us at creating chances. In terms of possession, we are like 5th. Leicester and Chelsea are ahead of us. So this team is supremely overperforming. So Ollie gets credit for that as well. It's not just the players, or it's not just Bruno or Pogba turning up. Ollie gets credit for making us overperform.
Right.
But he also gets the blame for not making us play in a certain way. You know, there's too much pragmatism, I feel. The tempo is not high. Something he wants us to do, which is keeping the tempo high. The problem is right there in the midfield. I mean, he knows the cause of his problems. It's McFred. It's Matic over there. Matic takes 5 touches before he makes a pass. That is
Pass,
not
yeah.
picking up the tempo of the game.
Mm.
Uh, McTominay needs 10 seconds to pick out a 6-yard pass.
Pass, yeah.
That's these are obvious problems, and hopefully something that we'll come together and solve in the coming section, which I'm very excited for. By the way,
But just very quickly, can I just play devil's advocate and then maybe
right,
I'll give you a bit of chance to
right,
react on that, Gary? Okay. So what I'm thinking, you quoted statistics, right? It's heavily influenced by the setup and how the tactics that we employ. Now, when you play as a counter-attacking team, you're not going to have those shots from inside the box or the intricate one-two passing that will unlock defenses
right.
and stuff like that, like the cities and the Liverpools of last year, right? So I think the setup has something to do with those numbers, and they
No,
definitely
but
have
let me
some.
let me correct you there,
Hmm,
Gary. Chai.
sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. But
Hmm.
I did look up this. Now, there's another team that's just below us who plays very similar to us. That's Leicester.
Yeah.
Leicester also play. They also heavily rely on the pace of the forwards to get in behind the centre backs, and you could say they are a bit of a counter-attacking team. They have
Mhm.
two more shots within the penalty box and from within the 6-yard box. So it
Hmm.
is possible to play in that manner.
Yep.
It is the difference being that NDD being there allows the elements to get forward,
Forward. Yeah.
allows Madison to get forward. So
Hmm.
you have more players within the box for someone to aim a cross at, right?
Yeah.
It's like simple logic.
Agreed, agreed.
Yeah.
And look, I was just playing devil's advocate because considering the way we've played, the goals we've scored, and most of them, we find it difficult to break teams apart, which with a low block, primarily because of this reason, because we don't engage them in their 6-yard box a lot, right? Now, what I mean by that is intricate passing and stuff like that. But I take your point. But one thing that Gary and I have talked about quite extensively, and Gary, you might elaborate on it, is our forwards essentially, which is Rashford and Martial. On a good day, okay, on a good day, if nobody is injured, it'll be Rashford on the left and Greenwood on the right, probably Martial in the middle, right? So when all these forwards are inside forwards training to be, or have been training to be the inside forwards, that instinct is to cut across and shoot. So probably one thing that I've seen missing from this season is people are going for glory more than they should, and there are outright passes people miss, like Rashford and stuff like that. They take that one extra touch, one extra step over, one extra things that don't need to be done. If you kept it simple and made the pass early, you would have put your teammate in. Probably our numbers would be different. Gary, what do you think?
Dude, I just want to go back to this point about how we came out in the second half.
Hmm.
That was just unbelievable. Because
Hmm.
at the end of the first half, I was just thinking to myself, are we really going to go out of this competition?
Hmm.
Because the way we were playing, and they had 2 shots on target, they scored both goals. And then we come out in the second half and we put out this amazing performance. Look, Ferguson did it really well. Okay, Ferguson did it really well. Where we'd have 1 or 2 games where we would play absolutely shit.
Hmm.
We'll go into the first half, maybe trailing 1 or 2 nil. I remember the Tottenham game. This is Tottenham
It was
game once
five
we
two.
played.
We
3
we were
nil we
trailing.
went down, right?
Yeah.
3 nil in the first
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
We, and to be fair, we didn't play that badly. We just conceded stupid goals. But
Yes.
but we came into that second half, Chai, and we put in a match winning performance, and we got that 5 goals. Now, I don't know about you, right? I don't see a Mikel Arteta. I don't see a Brendan Rodgers. I'd argue even maybe a Klopp, whether he'd be able to do that. Go into, 2-1 down in a key semi-final to come out and win 6-2. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, for whatever his flaws are, his lack of coaching, his lack of acceptance that his coaching staff, inept.
Hmm.
The fact that he is so casual about his, the interview sometimes, the post-match interviews where he goes and he starts smiling and he's laughing and, just irritates you.
Hmm.
Whatever you say about him, when it comes to managing players, Chai, there is no better person in the football place right now.
Hmm.
Look at that team. Look at that team, Chai. Look at that team. Fred McTominay in your midfield. Okay? Fred and McTominay in your midfield. and we are second in the league right now. We are in a Europa semi-final right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what else this man can do. Like, he's clearly taken this team as far as he can.
Yeah.
He's really done a great job. Okay, I was very critical about him, but I go back to that City game when we won 2-0 at Etihad, and I looked at that City team and I saw the key players there. How many of those players that City had would come into our first team, and conversely, how many of our players in our first team even would go into their bench? We are where we are now in the league because clearly City have a better team than us. There's no denying that, okay? And I think Solskjaer has done his level best to get us in this position. Yes, there's still some things he can do better with the coaching staff. He needs a better coaching staff around him to get us to the next level or to play catch up with City, because City are going to strengthen further in the summer. So he's got to realize that if he wants to keep his job, he's got to either get he's got to get the very best players, or he's got to get a better coaching team so we can play consistently week in, week out with the team that we have.
Okay. No, understood. So, look, any final thoughts, guys, before we move into talking about what's coming up and stuff like that?
Yeah, I just this was the most fun I had watching United play in the longest time. It was the most fun, and this last couple of weeks, it's been tough on football fans because with the Super League and all that. And I honestly considered stopping following United. Not being a United fan anymore, because this was not the team that I fell in love with. These were not the principles of fair play, and as you grow older, you don't just support that one club. You fall in love with the sport of football, right? And I can honestly say that I really enjoyed watching Liverpool play for the last 2 or 3 seasons, because they were absolutely brilliant. They made me want to. They made me want my team to play like them, because they were so good. And I really enjoyed Leicester's run in 2016. I follow a lot of small, obscure teams in Serie A and Bundesliga. I like watching these stories come up. I love the sport of football. So it did turn me off football. But then something like this happens, and you have the classic United comeback in the second half, and you score 5 goals without conceding any. It just makes you fall back in love with the sport, and watching these 3 players, Bruno and Pogba and Cavani. I don't remember the last time we had 3 world-class players putting in world-class performances in the same game. I think the last time was the season we won the title, right? So it was like it was new hope again. It was the circle of life. So I thoroughly enjoyed the game.
Okay. Quick. Do you think the tie is over? Do you think it should be a comfortable run at Roma? Before I move on to Gary.
No, I think it's over. I think it's over. Yeah.
Okay. Gary, what are your key takeaways, I guess, and what do you see from the return leg?
Chai, the tie should be over for all intents and purposes. But again, it's all dependent on which United go to Rome, which team Solskjaer puts out there.
I think Newcastle United will go to Rome, dude.
These are all variables that we just can't, it can have a massive impact on the game.
Okay, I have a question. I have a question for Chai. Do you think Van de Beek will start?
Look, I want him to start. I want Diallo to start as well, and I wish they do. I mean, I think this will play out, and this is my opinion, right? Getting back. So when we were, I think, 4-0 ahead of Real Sociedad. I think the same team played the first half that beat Sociedad 4-0.
Right,
and I don't think Solskjaer is resting fucking McFred. He's not. He will play them for the first half. But so Girish is laughing. You know what? If you watch back our videos after the transfer review, he was singing a jingle for Van de Beek, and now he's sitting there smug and laughing. But we should play
Okay.
that as a background. But no, what I do feel bad for the kid, right? I mean, I do feel bad. He's an international. He's been treated with some disrespect there. Whether it's good man management that he's still there and not wanting to move. I don't.
Dude, the disrespect. Fred and
Mm.
McTominay are better than you. Okay, that's just next level disrespect.
That's exactly right. Fucking Van de Beek is shaking Bruno's hands after the end of the game. He's like, "Fucking hell!" The Bruno is drenched with
Hey,
sweat,
Van de
and he
Beek,
looks like he's just. Do you
get my
think he
Powerade,
did
will you?
exactly? Fucking hell! It's so wrong, dude. But anyway, ties over. You reckon, Gary? What do you think?
It should be, dude. It should be.
Okay,
Even if we lose 1-2-0, I think, look,
fine.
they've got to beat us 4-0.
Mm.
4-0.
Yeah,
And if we score one, then it's going to take them
yeah.
5-1 or 6-1. So I think it's done.
Okay.
But saying that, we've got to look. Let's just play our simple game. Put
Yeah,
in Diallo, put in Van de Beek, put in whoever you want.
yeah.
But at the same time, we've got to
My
make
dad
sure
seems keen.
make sure the bench is also strong, just in
Yeah,
case.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so quickly moving on to this weekend's game, it's Liverpool, guys. Although it doesn't have the same importance that it did in the start of the season, because I think we played them thrice, I guess, no, continuously or twice in a week or something like that. Because
Yeah.
we played them in a cup as well. But how do you see this game panning out? I know it doesn't have a lot of important league table wise. Um, I think it's not going to change a huge lot. But what do you think, Rishi? Give me a quick predictions and what we should do. Or how do you
Uh,
see us shaping up?
I, I think what we should do is, I mean, I'm going to be controversial here. Maybe
Mhm.
not controversial, but I think we
Play
should
Van de
play this.
Beek, I think.
Sorry,
Play Van de Beek.
no, not that controversial. I think we should play more or less the same team that we put out against Roma because that's our strongest team. I think beating Liverpool and continuing that cycle of victory is very important. We've
Mhm.
seen that this team relies on confidence to keep getting the results out. So I don't care if it's a sketchy 90th minute penalty and Bruno scores and we
Mm.
win 1-0. But that game is important because we pretty much seal second place after we
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
We've got a game in hand over Leicester,
Mm.
and I think 4 points ahead of them. They're on 63. We are on 67.
67. Yeah.
So we'll be on 70 points. They will need 7 points of 4 games, which I don't see them overturning. And I think Liverpool is our last big game. Or
Yeah.
we have Wolves or someone like that. I
Someone.
think
Yeah.
yeah, those kind of teams coming up. So I
Hey,
think
dude,
this
how many
game is
times do we play Wolves in a season? Just seems like we every 3 months we're playing Wolves for some reason.
no,
Dude,
It's
that
some
was
madness.
season. We played them
2018
twice.
season.
We played them twice in an FA Cup,
Yeah.
and
But
I think Solskjaer came in before 19 games, so we played Wolves twice in that moment.
2019 season. It was, yeah.
It
I
was
always, yeah. And that was his first loss too, huh? I think one of
right.
the first, just after the PSG game, I think we played the
I think
Liverpool
it was
Yes,
team.
Bruno's
yes,
first
yes,
game
right.
as well, right?
The quarter.
No, no,
Mm.
that was the last season, the season before then.
The season before, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, Gary, Liverpool game. Who fucking cares? Huh? I don't think Liverpool
I
fans are a bit
you
too
know
worried about this either.
you know what, yeah.
They've given up.
I think the protests are going to overshadow the game itself. I think there's going to be massive disruptions around Old Trafford. I think the fact that players might not be able to get into the stadium, there's going to be a lot of media coverage around that. And I think, look, it is a big game. It's one of those big games that you lock in your calendar every season. It's
Yeah,
Liverpool United, the biggest rivalry in English football history.
I thought it was City and Chelsea, dude.
City and Chelsea, is it? Oh,
For
that's
the
a new one.
teenagers now.
That's
For the teenagers now,
the
it was City.
oil cup, right?
Oh, Cup. Yeah, that's it.
No, the Liverpool United game is, yeah, it's going to be a big one. I think Rishi is right. If we start with the first team,
Yeah,
there's no reason why we can't go in and win this game. I think it's
yeah.
Liverpool are playing extremely poor. I watched that Newcastle game that they played last weekend, and oh my word, they had about like 30 shots on target, and somehow they drew 1-1. The fact that Mane, Salah, and Firmino are just absolutely
Misfiring.
dog shit right now.
Yeah,
We've got a good chance to get something out.
sure.
So we have to play our best team, and again, Leicester is right on our backs, so we've got
Yeah.
to increase that gap and secure our second spot.
But if you win the Europa League, it doesn't matter, right? Where we finish. But
Still, it'd be nice to
moving on.
finish second. Yeah, I know I'm
I
greedy.
think Liverpool have been very lucky this season, and obviously you might say that their defense has been wiped
Injuries,
out.
boy.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know
they've
what?
got
Yeah, they talk about their defense being so shit, but it's actually not their defense. It's their
But
strikers, dude. They can't
absolutely
score.
that's what I was getting to. I think there's a massive problem there between Mane, Salah, Firmino. Something that they would bleed to death for each other a couple of years back. I think that equation has changed, and you don't see Salah trying to find Mane or Mane trying to find Salah.
so,
Of course, they were quite selfish even in the season that they won the league. But
Yeah.
even before that, the season they reached the Champions League final, all three of them scored 10 goals in the Champions League.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Insane.
No team has ever done that, and I don't think even in the MSN season that Barca won the Champions League 14-15. I don't think even they did that. So it was insane how these three could work for each other and try to bring each other into the game. Something has happened off the field which is affecting the performance big time, and that is not being covered at all by the media. Pogba rips
Sneezes
out
and it's a
you got everyone talking about how Pogba's going to leave, how Raiola's going to there is an actual agenda against United, and everyone is complicit in it. And Liverpool should get just as much attention, which they don't.
Dude, the thing is, okay, don't want to be mean to Liverpool fans, but United's the biggest club in England. And the biggest club will always generate, the biggest hype, the biggest.
But
drama.
okay, wait. I think it's orchestrated as well.
State the obvious things. Like next thing you're going to say is that the sun rises in the east. I mean, United is obviously the. We don't need to remind Liverpool fans of that. We've got more titles.
No. But some Liverpool fans are they think that the club's the biggest club. So I just want to.
Guys, we're talking about United versus Liverpool, not.
Gary, come on. Everyone needs to sleep at night. They need to have peace of mind. These are the lies people tell themselves to go to sleep. So let them.
Okay, fair enough. We're going off in tangents. We're going off.
Liverpool
you're
prediction. Liverpool prediction, guys. Quickly, Gary, what's your prediction? Liverpool, give me a scoreline.
1-0.
1-0. What? Liverpool?
No. United 1-0.
Okay, United 1-0. Rishi. Okay.
Yeah,
Rishi.
I doubt the game will even happen. I think Gary was right. There could be protests so big that the game is delayed or even postponed, and the owners will love that. The owners will love that because what they'll do? They'll spin the narrative at, oh, look at you guys, you're the good fans out there back at home who are following social distancing norms and rooting for the team. Look at these guys, like there are these 20,000-30,000 people who are trying to rip the club apart and take it from your hands. That is what the owners will do.
Actually, you've got a very good point.
Narrative.
I didn't look at it. That's a really good point.
I think they'll spin the narrative exactly.
And just I know I said this to appease the conversations or kind of find peace in that, but I have a feeling most of the media attention is probably self-inflicted by one of these marketing gurus somewhere. That's just my thing, right?
Guys, this is how mad it is right now, yeah? So the media are trying to come up with stories where Woodward is his innocent party in this whole ESL thing.
That's exactly right.
He had no idea he was forced into it. What bullshit.
I mean, there'll be like a ex-White House correspondent or a media manager who's probably working for Manchester United somewhere. He's like, okay, what is the news? How do I portray it? What benefit will it give me? And whose shirts are going to sell? But anyway, moving on, guys. The three of us did have a little bit of chat saying, if you had 100 million euros or pounds, right? Who would you buy? And with that theme, where do you think we will finish next season?